Hello everyone and welcome to another video and welcome to the Honda HR-V, a subcompact crossover family SUV. And no. Before you say that it's going to be a very small compact car with no space, then allow me to explain you what this car is all about, because this car may look compact from outside but it's surprisingly pretty spacious from inside. So in today's video I'm going to be showing you all the interiors, the exteriors, and we'll be also going on a short drive in this Honda HR-V. Before we move forward, please consider subscribing to my channel and also make sure to press the bell icon so that you never miss any video updates from my channel. Now let's begin from the front. Honda's obsession with actually the chrome continues, so you get this big chrome bar out here which continues all the way onto the side on the headlights also, and on the other side also the headlight, and this big Honda badging out here. At the bottom you would find this plastic trim, normal plastic, so it's actually given so that in case you scrape your bumper, then it's just easier to replace that part. There's more glossy grille out here, and then you get full LED headlight cluster along with the LED DRLs, and at the bottom you would get a halogen fog lamp and a surround around it. On the sides you get 17-inch alloy rims. Again, the design remains same from the 2019 model, and then you get this plastic arches on the side so that you don't damage your fenders, and also at the bottom you would find a skirting which is again plastic. Again, that is all for the durability, so that you don't scratch your underbody or anything in your car. And then you have smart keyless entry door handles. Again, they are chrome, and then you get a power foldable, power operated side mirror, and they have the LED turn signals in them itself, but it doesn't come with the blind spot warning system. And then you have a sloping roof line, and the rear door handle is actually mounted on the top side, and it is actually flushed with the body, so it is meant to give you this sort of coupe type of look. And then you have some lines which goes on from the side onto the back side. So the meaning of HR-V means it's a Highrider Revolutionary Vehicle. You see, Highrider Revolutionary Vehicle, although it's not really a Highrider. But continuing in the back, now you get an integrated LED and halogen tail light cluster, and there is again chrome, of course, a strip out here, and also Honda badging, the HR-V badging. At the bottom you would find a plastic bumper which is normal. Now this is actually pretty cool because if you scratch it, it's just easier to fix it, and you have parking sensors mounted in them. And at the bottom there is a single tip on your right side. Again, that is also covered with the chrome exhaust tip, so you get a wiper out here, and in terms of the visibility it's pretty decent. And there is also a spoiler that extends out here from the back. Now when it comes to the boot space, this is where the Honda HR-V shines in its segment. Now in this current setup, when the rear seats are upright, you get 448 liters of boot space, and the best part is actually the loading area is pretty big. Like, the opening of it is pretty big. There are also scuff plates out here so that you don't damage your bumper. Again, the bumper is anyways plastic, but even the height of the boot is actually quite low, so it's not going to be very hard to pick up your luggage and put it inside, because it's quite low actually. And there is only a very small lip out here. Now there is this very sort of flimsy boot separator that has been given, so you can actually see it's just flying around. So it's actually just for the sake, so you can remove it and put it down, so it actually won't consume a lot of space. And when you're not going to use the rear seats, and if you want to use more luggage space, then you can drop these seats down. These seats fold down in a ratio of 60:40, and when you put them down, again it is very flat area, and then you get 1530 liters of boot space, which is actually a class leading boot space that you would find in this HR-V. Even the 480 or 448 liters of boot space is actually a class leading boot space that you would find in this segment. And apart from that, you also get a 12-volt power socket out here, and also a boot light which is standard across all the model range. At the bottom you would also find a spare wheel, and the way it has been covered is actually pretty cool. To remove the spare wheel, it's just you have to flip and fold these the cover which has been given, and then you can remove the spare wheel. Now this Honda actually comes with something called as magic seat options. Let me demonstrate you that. So what you do is you can actually fold these seats upwards, lock them up, and this one You can see I'm actually walking inside. So yeah, it's this. So you get this sort of space out here. Now this actually makes quite a lot of sense because you may not want to use the boot space every day, but this way you can just, in case you're planning to get something which is tall or like plants or something, then you can put them out here and then you can use it. I don't know why not all the manufacturers sort of give you this option, because this is pretty neat and clever. Well, Honda is very good at making practical cars, and this HRV is no different, but the choice of material that they have used in this HRV is questionable, because you get plastic on the dashboard, normal plastic on the dashboard, even out here on the sides, out here in the glove box, and the door cards are also made of, they are leather covered with the soft touch, so they have the soft touch squidgy feeling, but it looks rather very plain, the whole design of the door. But nonetheless, there is also chrome and everything that they have given out here. And then you have this, the white leather, it's an off-white color, but it's been given on the dashboard. But again, that is like really hard, when you sort of tap on it. Even out here on the handrest, it's actually quite hard. This feels almost like a plastic. Now when it comes to the dashboard, you get the normal speedometer dial in the center and the rev counter on the one side, and another counter on the other side, where you can see different informations like your trip information, the various trip A, trip B information, your range, a very simplistic looking information that you will see, the clock and the odometer in total. But the speedometer in the center has this blue ring which tells you how efficiently you are driving, so that whenever you are accelerating, it turns to green to blue, but when you release the accelerator, which is when you're saving fuel, it turns into the green. So that I don't know, it's just personally me, but I found that to be a little distracting at night, because that constant change of color of the rings from blue to green. Previously it used to be from white to green, so that was even more distracting, but in this it goes from blue to green, so it's still like all right, but nonetheless it's quite big, so it's in your face all the time, especially at night when it's dark. When it comes to the steering wheel, it is leather covered steering wheel. In the center you would find a Honda badging, which is in chrome, and then on your right side you get the cruise control buttons, and on the left side you would get the infotainment, and the bottom you would find the communication controls. But the steering wheel is manually adjustable, tilt and telescopic, so you can choose to adjust the steering wheel however you want. And also the steering wheel is pretty nice and grippy, although it just lacks the thumb support, which I miss. And also you get the paddle shifters on both the sides, but these paddle shifters are plastic. Coming to the gear lever, it has also the chrome button given out here, and also a chrome surround around at the bottom, and it's a very long tunnel, but there are no buttons to distract you. The air conditioning controls are touch capacitive buttons which have been given. Now I am still okay with this setup, but it still requires a bit of understanding, because if there was a knob for like your temperature and the fan, then it becomes easy, because your mind already knows where the buttons are, so it's easy to memorize. But in this you have to still understand what buttons are mounted, but it's still easy. So it's a single zone air conditioning system, and you can control the temperature and the fan speed from the touch buttons given out here. There is also the different modes that you can set. There is on off button, and easy to use actually air conditioning system, and it's also got a chrome surround around it. Even the AC vents have chrome surround around them, and you get 3 vents out here on the passenger side. Infotainment screen, even on the 2020 model, is a TFT 6.8 inch touchscreen, and there is actually not much to be discussed with this screen, because it's a fairly basic screen where you have just the connectivity options like the audio options like the AM, FM, Bluetooth, USB, HDMI, and phone link, and also the settings. The settings actually has really not much. It's just the Bluetooth and the language settings that you can do, and just plain basic, that's it. And this screen actually is a TFT, and it actually gets really washed out during the sun, you know, on a normal day when the sun is falling directly on it. The connectivity options on this infotainment system, you will get a USB option and a Bluetooth option, and that is pretty much it. There is also an HDMI option with which you can connect something, you know, on the screen itself, and the HDMI is actually given on the screen itself, and you have to press the button to open the cover for it, and there is also a USB. Now when it comes to the connectivity or charging option, you get one USB port which is right out here in the infotainment screen, and then there is one 120 watt power socket out here and another 120 watt power socket in the back. But that is pretty much it. And the thing is that 12 volt power socket is given at the bottom, which is pretty neat because you can plug your, you know, mobile phones while driving, and there is also a tray at the bottom on which you can leave the phones so that it is not distracting. I get, like, you know, it's a little on the downside, but you can keep the cables connected, although it won't come in your way when you are driving near the gear lever and all. So although the USB is still mounted on the top, but there's only one USB for the entire cabin, you know, and when you consider that it's a family SUV, I mean, one is a little now outdated. At least there has to be 2 or 3, you know, USB plugs, because there are more empty slots given at the bottom. They can provide you with the extra USB options, but in the infotainment screen there are straightforward buttons. Now even those buttons are just very tiny and sometimes may be hard to use. There is a volume button, and there is a menu button, and there is a power button. So that is pretty much like the basic infotainment system that you would get on this Honda HR-V. Now when it comes to the storage, that is where this car is actually pretty generous. So you can put like 1 liter worth of bottle in the door cards. There are also 2 cup holders out here, but it's the cup holders are actually pretty clever. So you know, these are adjustable cup holders, so there are like buttons given out here. When you press them, the cover underneath them just closes, and then it raises the cup holder, so you can put like the smaller cup holders, and if you have bigger ones, you can close them and put, you know, the longer cups inside them. And when you don't want them at all, you can just remove them, and then there's a partition that you can also remove, and then you can use the space as a storage, which is pretty neat and clever. There's also a big glove box given out here, and look at the way it opens up. It's very gentle. There is also a center armrest in which there is a small storage. I don't know, you can put your wallets and phone, and that is pretty much it. And that is also slidable, but when you slide, you can only put like 1 cup out here. And apart from that, you can't actually put a lot anywhere your phones, because there is no dedicated slot given for your phones to go, because there is something under the dashboard, but then you can't really fit a phone these days which are like anywhere between 5 to 6 inches, and if they are bigger, then you absolutely cannot fit them here. There are also more slots given on the sides where you can actually put your phone, but then that is a little on the downside, and you know, when you want the phone again, it can be a little bit of a distraction. And at the bottom, as I mentioned, there is another storage out here where you can leave your phones for charging, or you can put anything out there. And when it comes to the seats are leather seats in this off-white color. They are perforated seats, and they are manually adjustable. They are 6-way manually adjustable, and these seats, I found them to be a little on the harder side. Like, you know, you expect these leather seats to be, you know, a little bit more cushioned. There is actually ample of cabin space for your legs to move around during longer journeys. Now also, this Honda HR-V comes with 6-speaker music system, and even the speakers have a chrome surround around them. Now this HR-V comes with a panoramic sunroof, and this is actually my favorite feature, because they managed to put in a compact SUV a big sunroof, and it also opens quite huge, you know, and it goes all the way till the back, so it gives you a very airy and roomy feeling, you know, when you have a panoramic sunroof. Now in the back, again, as I mentioned, though it's a compact crossover SUV, but the space is phenomenal. I am genuinely quite impressed, because look at the leg room that I have, and these seats are in my driving position. Even the passenger seat, I have pushed it into my driving position, and look at the space that I get. These seats are also curved, so you get that additional, you know, knee room out here. But the same cannot be said for the headroom, because this car has a sweeping roof line, which is why someone taller than 6 feet may find their heads, you know, brushing on the ceiling. But otherwise, again, the same same soft touch materials in the back, which is leather covered, and the white this leather, off-white leather, which has been given. Speakers in the back with the chrome surround on them, and there is no tunnel actually, because this is a front wheel drive car, but even there is an all-wheel drive car, but there is no transmission tunnel that passes from here, and which is why even for the middle passenger, the only issue is that there is a big hump in the middle seat, and which is why you may be like sort of over the, you may have a feeling of on the edge sort of thing. And also because the seats are 60:40, and the place where these seats split actually has a bit of a gap here, and which is why it makes the middle passenger a little uncomfortable during the longer journeys. Now in terms of the storage, you can put like half a liter worth of bottle in the rear door cards, but there is only one cup holder given out here in the center with the 12-volt power socket. Now that actually is pretty weird, because if you have plugged in a charger or something, then you cannot use the cup holder, and otherwise the rear passengers really have to make a decision as to who gets to use that cup holder. Good luck with that. And there is also a handrest, which is a tiny one and a very thin one actually. So, and it's actually quite short, so your hands are actually like hanging around, and there are no cup holders in them, so it's just that it has been given. And also there are 3 headrests given out here. There are also rear seat pockets in both the driver and the passenger, but apart from that, you can also slide your feet under the seat, which is like marginal amount of legroom that you will find, but nonetheless it's good for the longer journey. Now also these seats are slightly adjustable. You can adjust the backrest in them, like there is like 3 levels in which you can adjust the backrest. So the Honda HR-V EX comes with a 1.8 liter SOHC 4-cylinder i-VTEC petrol engine that produces 140 brake horsepower and 172 Newton meters of torque. Now this engine is mated to a CVT transmission, as was with the previous generation of the HR-V, and it's a front wheel drive system. Now the engine tends to be a little, I don't know, it feels it lacks the power also sometimes, and also it's the CVT effect, which is very, very sluggish. It takes a little while to accelerate if you want the sudden power while you are in a traffic and you want to overtake a car or something. It takes a little while. It's just that things are very gentle out here. There is also a sport mode and an eco mode. Now I'm not going to put the eco mode, because eco mode just reduces the response when you consider from the normal mode. So if you put the car in the sport mode, now the shift points, because the CVT also has the 7-speed sort of gearbox combination that they have made inside the CVT, so that the car would just shift its points, and then it would just rev much higher than the usual RPM. The throttle would become responsive, and also there is finally the use of the paddle shifters out here. But then again, this just, it does not feel like doing all this and going all the way into the sporty mode and all, because the comfortable mode is pretty alright. Because the thing is, when you put the car in the sport mode, let me put it in the D mode again, it's the NVH levels. Now even in the previous generation, I had mentioned the fact that the soundproofing is a little bit on the lower end, so you can actually hear quite a bit of wind whooshing, and also the tire noise from the car itself. And then there's the engine, because if it revs higher, it gets very noisy inside the cabin, and so which is why I just prefer to keep it in the comfort mode. And when it comes to the suspension, now the suspension setup is on the softer end, but it's pretty alright, because I am cruising quite comfortably. There is not much of a roll in this car. Like when I take sharper turns, the car is pretty balanced that way, and it wouldn't like do some acrobats, like just going around understeering or anything. So that way it's a very decent sort of combination for a family SUV. And when it comes to the steering, again, the steering is pretty alright, because it's an electronic steering and it varies its sensibility based on the speed. So at lower speeds it's much more sensitive, so that the car would feel very nippy, and also it's got a very short turning radius, and because it's also very compact, it helps in the turning radius too. Now when it comes to brake, there is an emergency stop signal that will switch on when I press the brakes suddenly. Wow, that was something. And please be aware that this road is completely empty. There is no cars, there are nothing. This is like away from the city, which is why it's all empty, so I can do these brake tests, and no one is around and it's not dangerous. Now when it comes to the safety systems, there are standard safety systems available on the HRV, like 2 airbags for the driver and the passenger front ones, 2 side airbags again for the driver and the passenger, and 4 curtain airbags all around. There's also EBS, there is ABS, there is ESS, which are demonstrated during the brake test. There are child ISOFIX points in both the rear seats. There's also a single camera reversing system, but I'm not really satisfied, to be honest, with this reversing camera, because even during the daytime there's a lot of glare from this TFT screen, and even at night the areas are very dark on the screen itself. This infotainment system is something which needs the change for sure. And also I am looking forward to the next generation when they change the infotainment system, which seemingly Honda has announced that they would be changing it on this one too, because I absolutely love the other systems on the Accord, the Civic, the Pilot that I recently reviewed. So in all those systems, the infotainment screen is just fantastic. In fact, I have also mentioned the fact that it is one of the best infotainment systems that I have used on any road going cars. It's very streamlined, it's intuitive, and it's very nice. So shame that it misses out on this car, but if they change this is going to be a pretty perfect match. I think this is still a pretty viable options, and when it comes to the compact SUV market, because that is pretty crowded, to be honest. Now this car may feel very compact from outside, but it is pretty spacious from inside, and it can easily sit 4 people, and if people are like supportive, then 3 people can sit in the back, so you can have 5 people. And also it's got the one of the class leading boot spaces, so, and it's got the practicality. It's just that a few tech features which are missing out from this car, but nonetheless it's still a pretty decent option. And also you get a fuel economy because of the CVT combination anywhere between 13 kilometers. At least I am getting a fuel economy of at least 13 kilometers per liter. If you consider all these factors, then you should at least consider, or just I keep mentioning that have a look at these cars, because these days the cars are just so refined and so good. It's just that all the cars seem pretty all right for day-to-day use. It's just that every different manufacturing cars have different characters in them, so it's whatever you are looking out for, then it may fit your type. That is pretty much it for this video. If you like this video, make sure to press the like button, and if you want to subscribe to my channel, then you can click here, and if you want to watch more videos, then click here. I shall see you in the next video. Bye bye and take care.